There we go.
Okay, we're
I'm here
a
for the
little
whole
early, but we're going to start with a discussion regarding the public sewer district with Eric Nyland from EDC and
Me? Do I need to come up there with you guys?
Eileen. Please come.
I can
Come up
speak
and-
so.
How are you, Eileen?
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
How's everybody? How's your driveway doing?
Oh, fine.
So, I mean, Eileen has a point she wants to address, but what I wanted to address was more in general, just where we should be heading as a town with public sewer. Today is not, to be making any decisions or anything. I just wanted to start to get it in a public meeting and have the town hear discussion is happening, and that, this will definitely be addressed in the master plan, which is coming in the future, but, so, basically, I feel like it's we have two issues. We have one issue being from Manor Road to, the HUD facility, Bolton Manor, is that right? So there's a lot of residences that are on tight tanks. There are some residents that are maybe questionably passing Title V, so if they try to sell that, that cost will get carried to residents trying to sell a new development. So that's one piece of it. There's an issue coming along Main Street, and economically for the town, it makes sense to have a public sewer there. The other issue is the business properties around 495, Kane property, the Condine's property, they all want to develop, but when you talk to them, the issue isn't taxes, because actually the tax rate is pretty good since we have a low, tax rate, so compared to, like, say, Clinton, which is in the 30s somewhere. So it's not taxes, it's not zoning necessarily. The is sewer, Office Park talked to Eric and I, showing us a very preliminary plan of something they would like to redevelop that property, but their issue is just, they'd have to put in their own sewage treatment plant, to do anything. Because they talked to the DEP, and, you're only allowed 10,000 gallons, and they said, well, what if we split it up into different parcels, but, because it's consecutive, the same owners, you can't really get around it that way. So if we want any business development in town, we might have to think about investing in our future on sewage there. The scope of it, of course, is a lot more, is a lot greater in that aspect for gallons per day and everything, but I just wanted to get it kind of in an open forum and kind of discuss what the next steps were. I know that I've discussed with Dawn about a potential public sewer study, but Dawn kind of felt like, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but Dawn's been looking at this extensively, and kind of knows the situation, so we don't necessarily want volunteers kind of doing engineering work. And we want
Well, my thinking was we have a certain number of volunteers out there that can help us, and
Yeah.
I think for the most part they would be covering ground.
Yeah.
Either I've already
Right.
covered or I
Yeah.
could cover.
So thinking along the lines, and I think I kind of had a conversation with Bob about this too. We do want to have it in a master plan, but if we have a group that starts to lay out like a long-range plan for sewer, if that's something that a volunteer group can do, getting together. I know Don has a lot of knowledge, but if we can get together a document, a public document, setting out like everything you need from studying the current system, what can the land, I guess you need engineering, but, setting up the, what the capacity would be, not necessarily doing the engineering work, but, what's the current capacity, what do we need to get to, I kind of mentioned 2 zones, so zone 1 being residential, that's an easy thing, you just do number of bedrooms, and you could figure out how many gallons per day you need there, Title V wise, and then what you would need in the business zone. Then you would get into the whole politics aspect of creating a commission and stuff, so if that was to get into a document form for the town, maybe that's something good, but I don't know, I just here to discuss kind of next steps, and this is going to be, ways to start thinking about our future as a town, what we want, if we want to get those residences up to code for the future, if we want to have a potential business development along 495, it's, if we want those things to happen, I think public sewer is something that we need to be thinking about as a town. So I was just here to discuss next steps. I know Eileen wanted to talk about a particular property.
Yeah, this is a hardship property. If you read the letter, it's from Centellarita, who owns Cracker Barrel. The sewer runs right next to it. He's been presently using, having to have a tight tank, and every 6 weeks, it's $800 to pump that tight tank. And he wondered if there was any possibility with his hardship that the town would allow him to, put the fluids in the sewer. And I don't know if it's opening a Pandora's box, but I'm here to ask the question. Because this is definitely a hardship. I know Bambi's property, they had to put a $70,000 septic in. So, the price of the house was low 100s, and that is what it's affecting the value of our real estate also, if somebody's gonna put a $70,000 septic in.
So
That's
that's,
the pink house.
The pink house,
Next
yeah.
to the
so that's like an instance of what I'm talking about, how, not having a public sewer is depressing the values of the properties along Main Street.
Well, it's hard, because we have the Great Brook on one side, and then on the other side, we have the marsh, the wetland that's right behind so many of these houses on Main Street. And I think it's something we're gonna have to face sooner or later. I know with 602, they did a shared septic, but I don't know how long that's gonna last. We tried on I talked to Ducharme, and there was no other place to do, but in this property, to put in a tight tank. We can't do a share system. Somebody suggested a share system, but I don't think Kangamali wants to do that because that would create parking problems for him. And the other abutter is the town. So, what is this person supposed to do? Just walk away and leave it to the bank?
Yeah,
Because every buyer won't buy it.
in general terms,
Can
you run the
do it.
risk of properties being boarded up and not being able to be sold, and
Well, I think right now, there really is no option to hook them into the sewage treatment plant. It was voted on for municipal purposes only. And I think absent a sewer district, approved sewer district, there's really nothing that we're able to do at this point. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Would you do something down the road, do you think?
Well, for your particular instance now, I believe that since it was voted on that the current sewage treatment plant was for municipal purposes only. So private residents would not be able to hook up to that.
Yeah, I was actually, I think Dawn gave me the paperwork on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to do for this poor guy because this is really a bad situation.
It's not just the Cracker Barrel, it's
A lot of
across
other
the
things,
street
yeah.
at Druitt's, which is also,
Well, that's another one that's gonna be in jeopardy.
they have, what do they have under their parking lot? Is it
They have the Great Brook under the barn.
I know, but what's their septic system now? It's just, do you know?
It's
under-
very I don't know how they even got it, Title V under
I
it.
think it's under the
Right,
parking
no,
lot.
it's in the backyard of that building.
Okay.
But, they would be looking probably the same amount as the people
Mhm.
as Bambi's house, because that's the same plateau there.
I've looked into this and brought it up before. Our package treatment plant, behind Florence Sawyer School is rated for 40,000 gallons, I think, a day. And it's currently servicing 11,000 gallons. So we are paying, monthly we pay, or yearly we pay thousands to have that monitored. In the last 3 years, I think we paid, I don't know, we replaced 2 pumps.
So the repairs, that figure is $69,000.
$69,000 to repair, I don't know if it was half of the pumps or all of the pumps.
It was half.
So it's coming, major components are coming to the end of their lifespan. So, the question is, we're paying a lot of money for a system that's running at 1/4 capacity, so that's just inefficient.
But the other point there is, you're paying a lot of money when it's under capacity. what's gonna happen to the cost of running it as the capacity increases? Someone's gotta look at that.
Yeah, someone has to look at that, but sharing the costs with, businesses and
It's a benefit.
with residents, upkeep, maintenance, and just the annual costs of inspection, sharing that is going to be, I would think, less expensive and more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at that number too, but that's like actual use, it's not what Title V says, so I don't know what the Title V number is. I mean, even though we're only using 11 to 14,000 gallons a day, the number of students and the municipal buildings, actually, what it's rated for might be 30,000.
Right, but there's
Yeah.
a difference between that usage and what Title V and
Right.
DEP says.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
also, as we talked before, yes, it's not being utilized at 100% capacity, but we have to reserve capacity if we ever wanted to tie this building into it.
Mhm.
We have to reserve capacity if Lawrence Sawyer ever builds the additional pod.
Mhm.
And then we also have to reserve capacity because the public safety building has the ability to expand.
Yeah.
So all of those would have to be added into.
Yeah, it's all have to
And
go
then you figure out what's left. So I don't think anyone should have the notion that they're gonna be able
Yeah.
to service the residential
Oh, for sure.
and the commercial.
I think the question would be, can it be expanded upon,
But that's exactly the role
Yeah.
of an engineer.
Yeah, for sure.
I wrote a document, I don't remember what year it was, but it was so long ago that Dave Lindsay was a selectman. I remember Dave being involved with it. And I wrote a pretty detailed process of what needs to happen. And very early on, we need an engineer involved that could sit down, do the calcs that you're talking about, and ultimately determine what the remaining capacity is. We didn't talk about, can it be expanded upon, but I'm sure, an engineer could include that in whatever study they would do. Then, even once they've done that, then the engineer would basically draw where the district would go.
Mhm.
And it's unlikely, but not impossible, the district could be created and that property might not be in it. I would think that would be unusual, but I don't think it's impossible. Nothing's impossible. So, but the first step really is to get an engineer involved that can do this type of work.
Now, is there grant money for that, or?
I've not found any grant money for that. I don't know that there isn't any. I'm just saying I've
Yeah.
never been able to find any.
I know,
And I haven't looked for a few years now. I've looked a couple of years back, but.
I mean, so the engineering up front work needs to be done, but I know, like surrounding towns, I think it's Lancaster or Sterling, they just put it in
Harvard did.
well, but you get a business to co-sponsor, a Department of Public Works
Mhm.
grant, am I saying that right? Mass Works.
Mass Works.
Yeah, they'll do a grant, like, so if you're creating X number of jobs. they'll
X
put
number of jobs,
Yeah.
exactly, but the number of jobs, if you're creating 10 jobs, that's not
Well,
getting anybody's attention. If
yeah.
you're creating a couple of hundred jobs,
Yeah,
that's getting somebody.
well, that's what I mean, so looking at preliminary plans of
Mhm.
Condyne, Bolton Office Park.
Mhm.
Well, I would say any type of, setting up of any type of sewer district for business, I think the business needs to be involved.
For sure.
Because we
Yeah.
can't expect all the citizens of Bolton to be
Sure.
footing the bill for
Well, and
sewage treatment plan for some businesses, in a small piece of 495.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be the reality of it.
I think that's what happened in surrounding towns, is that the business
Mhm.
co-sponsored
Right.
Yeah.
and
That's right.
worked on the grant with
Yeah.
the town, and
That's right.
it was a
Yeah.
cooperative
We
effort.
we would need somebody would commit to, they would make probably what we always used to call when I did grants, the but-for argument. But for this, we could deliver X number of jobs with,
Yeah.
and, Y amount of revenue and that
Yeah,
type of thing. But, and I know the selectmen have already said this, but just to be absolutely clear, when Article 15 was voted at this town meeting, it expressly says for municipal purposes only, so the Board of Selectmen don't have, even if they wanted to, the Board of Selectmen don't have the authority to allow a resident or a business to tie into this. They don't have the authority to overrule town meeting.
yeah, I mean, I
I
think,
think another aspect of this that should be discussed at the same time is, to me, it makes no sense to talk about a sewer district without talking about a water district.
Yeah, so if you take care, I guess if you take care of sewer, water becomes a little bit easier because you don't have the workarounds from, you know, leach fields and stuff. But,
Did they put in a water
You know,
district and stuff?
Harvard had a water district in place decades before it put in a sewer
Oh, yeah.
district.
It's right, yeah, their pond is right on Bolton Road,
yeah,
the source.
Yeah, they're well.
that's definitely a piece of it for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think water has been a problem
Yeah.
on Main Street. This is a
Yeah.
lot of heavy-duty wells.
You're still gonna have a lot of demand
Yeah.
there in small pieces of property, and yes, the leach fields give you more places to put a well, but you're talking about the water quality
Yeah,
also.
I mean, this is a huge monumental task.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna take years to get done, but we gotta take the first step somewhere. And, you know, I would like us as a town to start to head in that direction.
Yeah, as you said, we exchanged some emails on this stuff, and I would believe that it would be part of the master plan to kind of put this in perspective of the other things that need to be done around town also.
Mhm.
But, you know, I support the idea of, you know, public sewer committee getting started. I think, you know, Erica, the town planner, looked into this. She studied the Harvard project. She didn't, you know, when I was chair of the planning board, she didn't think it was as hard as it seemed. You know, she looked at their process. She also did an inventory of all the bedrooms on Main Street
Yeah. she
and
did that.
figured out the gallons that would be needed, and
I think the number
it
was,
still left a lot of gallons of extra capacity with the system. So I think it would be great to get started with, you know, local volunteers and get them working on it, and then when it's time, you know, either they're gonna work on, you know, a grant or, you know, come back to us with a proposal to put something on town meeting, but to just kind of put it off for another 2 or 3
Yeah.
years, I think is a waste
well,
of
so I was
time.
saying, you know, we would just have to have a clear understanding of what the volunteers would be doing, because like Don said, you know, we don't want them to get into engineering work, and they need an engineer anyway. And that's what I was saying, you know, is it the group that will eventually be on the master plan, you know, start talking about long-range planning? It's just, I don't have a clear picture of what, I think that some type of group would be good, but I don't have a clear picture of exactly what their charter would be.
Well,
right now.
I think to be fair to the selectmen, I don't think they can come up with that tonight, but.
No, I'm not
But
asking.
we could put it on April agenda, we could put it on the next selectmen's agenda to have a specific, the selectmen could have a specific discussion on what the charge of that committee
Would be.
would be.
Yeah,
It would give them time to think about it, and
Yeah.
And the Board of Health would have to be involved in it too.
I would,
But we do have engineers that live in town who might volunteer for this. We also have, we have the town planner and we have a DPW director
Yeah.
who are engineers. So I think there's a lot of talent here and we could get moving on this.
yeah, I mean, it's needed.
And it's not just residential, we do have these 2 businesses at the common
Yeah,
that it would be great, they're empty right now. It would be great to fill those up.
and if you ask any of the business, like I said earlier, any of the landowners around 495, you know, the major issue of development is sewer, of course, you know. It's a major, major piece, so that would be great, yeah, if you guys,
Yep.
Dawn could come up with,
Mhm.
because I don't really, you have a lot more history with it than I do, so I don't really know what a study group
Mhm.
would or could do, or what they'd be capable of doing.
I think that, I'll be able to lay hands on the document I wrote years ago, and I think that gives people like an outline, a framework to work from, then they could come up with deliverables from that, and, you know, so I think it would help a committee get started. I mean, I'm not an engineer, I don't know how to do anything like that, but I can define the process, I think that needs to be
So
followed.
even the, what was it, 117, whatever the committee that just was for 117, I mean, I think their charge was pretty much coming up with an amount and selecting a person just to do the study along, you know, just to get the study going. Maybe that's what the first charter is, just to get an engineer in here, you know? The first charter is to get an engineer to study and figure out how much that would cost, and I don't know. You have a better play idea than I do, but
But, no, if the board wants, we'll certainly put that on the next agenda.
Yeah.
That's fine,
great.
that's fine.
That's it.
Well,
I
thank you.
just wanted to get it in the public forum, really.
Keeps coming up.
Yeah,
It's been up
Hopefully
there.
we'll get working on it.
yeah,
The planning board brought it up a couple of years ago, right?
yeah. It's hard. It's a lot of work. So
Well,
It keeps getting-
there are
it
so many
keeps-
demands the town has too.
yeah, exactly.
Good to see you.
Yeah,
Eileen. Good
nice
to
seeing
see
you. Thanks, guys.
See you soon.
Yeah, oh, yes. Okay.
Next, we have a request from Over the Hill Soccer League team to start playing at 8:30 a.m.
Hey,
on the Four Bush Mill Road fields for 5 spring Sundays and 5 fall Sundays. So we'll have some Over the Hill ladies and gentlemen.
Apparently they're all asleep because they only got one extra. Tom
It's
Courtney.
still the witching hour at Denny's, you know. so.
Yeah.
We're not that over there.
So basically, the league would like us to get our games done by noon, which we can't if we start at 9, because we've got 2 games. So we start at 9, first one goes till 10:30-ish, and then next one starts at 10:15 or 10:45. We're spilling over. It's harder for them to get refs. Every season, I have to keep bugging them to say, can we manually update the time available for schedule to start at 10:45, because the latest start time they have normally is 10:30. So we lived under the 9 o'clock rule for a while. I personally think it's a little bit late, but ideally it would be 8. 8:30 is we're willing to settle for, because that allows us to get everything in by noon and keep the refs there. From a noise perspective, my counter arguments are that road is noisy already. You can hear Devon's fire practice from the field early in the mornings on Sundays. And I'm pretty sure, last I checked the noise ordinance in town, you can mow your lawn starting at 7 a.m. All right, the park's open dawn to dusk, so
How many games are going on simultaneously?
one at a time for us, and we do back-to-back. So the younger guys usually start the first one, and then the over
So it's
49.
2 games.
2 games, and it's,
They're not running at the same time,
No.
they're sequential.
they're sequential, and we do that because we can't fit 2 fields big enough.
Yeah.
We tried that one.
We tried that once, and it's,
No, that's fine.
so the other team, there is a third team, they would play on the opposite Sundays, but they would not start before 9. All right, so it'd only be the 5 spring seasons where we have home games and 5 in the fall, and it might not even be 5 in the spring if, like usual, Forbush sometimes isn't ready, and we rent out the high school turf for the first home game sometimes, so.
So I wasn't part of, on the board when this came up, I guess, the last time. Does the town now have a rule about what time they can start at Forbush? Anybody can start at Forbush?
Never, actually, let's see.
So on Saturday mornings, Bolton Youth Soccer starts at 8 a.m. And Bolton Youth Soccer has the field starting at noon on Sundays. You guys you started at 8 and were asked to move back.
Maybe 5 years ago, Tom, 4 years ago.
It was more than, I'm getting these
Because
in
of
here. So
noise?
the meeting was October 4th, 2012.
Yes.
When
Oh,
people came and like Jackie Foster came and complained and tried to push it to be later, which we did for a while. And then I think we submitted a request through Parks and Rec back in the fall of 2014 and asked if we could start at 8. 8 or 8:30, I can't remember, but it might have been 8, because I'm pretty sure by 8:10, Bolton Police went down, and by the end of the day, I'm pretty sure there was an email to the Selectmen and then to Joyce and then back to us. It's like, okay. So even though Parks and Rec approved it, still under that, so we didn't start
So
it
that's why we're
since
here.
then.
We're really at capacity at Forbush, so there's not another way to do this, except to have them start half an hour earlier.
Yeah, frankly, I forgot about the kids programs.
Is there-
Sunday
Yes,
stuff.
you can't even run over
Is
to
there
me.
any place else in town you could play?
No. I mean, I
They
know
need a
for
full-size
soccer, that's
soccer field.
the only soccer fields in town. I've looked at making The horse ring bigger, the field behind Derby, or behind what used to be Derby, bigger.
Yeah.
None of those are suitable yet. They would require, when I was in Parks and Rec, I even measured out and stuff. We'd have to go into the woods, we'd have to fill stuff out, because the one behind Sawyer, you have to sequester it with a fence from the kids, or they'll just trample the hell out of it. You might as well not bother. And the horse ring, we'd have to carve out some space, and we'd probably get dirty looks from the gardening crew, even though we wouldn't get near their plants.
Well, you could, kick a ball over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My kids lived there for a while, and they got, they didn't read in time, all the trouble. So yeah, we've looked at all the stuff, and lacrosse is already cramped in the little field they do down the
The
street.
cell tower?
Yeah, so,
I have to imagine the gentlemen are a lot quieter than the preschool kids are at 8 AM on Saturday mornings.
But it was the adults that were the source of the complaints several years ago.
On
Yeah.
Sunday mornings, yeah.
So do you have lots of fans?
no.
They're
Two,
here.
maybe
Yeah.
three. And there's mostly groaning by them, not cheering, laughing. Mostly.
No, I
It's not
was,
just people collapsing in pain and.
There's some of that, yeah, no, there's some of that, we have an AED thing just in case.
So it's not every Saturday, it's
It's not
5 in the
Sunday, it's
spring,
Sundays,
or
it's
Sunday,
Sundays, yeah.
it's 5 in the spring, 5 in the fall.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the little kids start earlier on
At
Saturday.
8:30, so it's later than the Saturday morning start.
Right.
no, I was on the board at the time
Yeah.
when Jackie came in
Okay.
and the neighbors. Have you reached out to?
We've not, we figured we would come here first and then we could send a neighbor notice.
I actually think you should reach out to the neighbors first, as opposed to us making a decision
Has
here.
Parks and Recs made a decision on this?
We support this because there's no other field to have them play on. We need them done by noon.
But you've had a vote on it.
We have, at our last Parks and
So
Rec.
the only other field I looked at was behind the town barn where they're building houses now.
Yeah.
That was the last big flat piece of land,
Yeah.
and someone sold it out before we could get our hands on it.
I agree with Stan. I'd like to have Parks and Recs talk to the neighbors and provide some feedback.
And if that's you can't get to an amicable agreement, then come on back. But I think, given the brouhaha a number of years ago, I think it would probably be good if you reached out to them and, see if you could get an agreement or, try it out first, and then if not, then come on all back here.
All right.
Because I think, I don't think it would be really right if we just said, if we decided something here.
Yeah,
and
we haven't
just-
heard both sides. If
And
we
just,
made the
hey
decision
Jackie,
tonight.
guess what? And that's the right thing to do.
All right.
Okay,
Let me know if you need to get on the next agenda, and we'll put you back on.
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We will review and finalize the annual town meeting warrants for May 6, 2019.
The amount of paper we go through every year is phenomenal on this.
Trees are,
So, the selectmen have voted several articles already. Just have, probably about half the warrant to go, I would guess. Starting with Article 3, actually, now that all the numbers are in, the advisory vote is the final budget Tuesday night. And all the numbers have been re-verified with the town accountant.
Kind of is what it is.
Very difficult budget here.
Yeah, I will move that we recommend approval of Article 3 on the warrant.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
guess the next, I think the board voted for zoning articles.
Yep.
And that would take us to, just a note on Article 10, I believe, that's one thing, you have already voted it, because of one minor technicality, the planning board will need to have another public hearing on Article 10, because there's a sliver of one parcel that's residential. Most of it is limited business, but I guess it is
At the gas station?
at the gas station, exactly. So just, you know, to make sure there are no technical errors, because they're going to have another
Okay.
public hearing on that.
Alright. So, plans done, 11.
So Article 12, which is the grant of the utility easement for the Boy Scouts.
I make a motion that we remove this article from the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Do we have anybody here from?
Mr. Rogers,
Mr. Roush, we discussed this and I think we're closing the warrant tonight, and there are just some legal issues that are outstanding about, the parkland and what we're allowed to do with it and the whole legal process. And we just don't have the time to do it this year, but we do want to engage with you and hopefully get something done, but it's just gonna take more time with help from our town council to get that done. So, we're really happy to hear that you're committed to the property and you're investing in its future. So we really wanna help you in any way we can.
What we have found is it's more than just the granting of an easement. There may be, needing to get the state government involved in home rule petitions and all that stuff. So we don't have all the answers tonight, and and we might not have them. So instead of trying to move forward with this and not do it the right way, I think it's cleaner to take it off, but we'll certainly continue to have discussions with you and the Boy Scouts to, figure out what we can do.
And I would encourage you to call Mr. Lowe, who can provide you with more of the detailed background.
Figured we'll do that, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Now, Article 13, in the most recent review, in your red line version, you see the old version is proposed to be deleted with a much smaller new version. Town council recommends the briefer version largely because there are definitions and the like in there that really can be dealt with in rules and regulations, and your hands can be tied if we have too much in the bylaw and not in the rules and regs. The streamlined version allows the board to establish rules and regs, penalties, etc. Just to give you one example, in the older version, we have the definition of a bag in there. Now, right now, it's 15 gallons and 30 gallons. So if the board wanted to change that for some reason, you need a town meeting vote to do it. So this allows us the flexibility to do what we need to do and grants the board the authorization to do it.
I think it makes sense.
Sounds good.
All right, I move we recommend approval of Article 13.
Second?
Approval? I thought we were striking it.
Well, the
No,
old
no,
one,
the
and
old
going
one.
with the new one.
Okay.
The new and improved.
The new and
Article
improved
13.
13.
Good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
And then Article 14 remains, because you still need to define the fines that would go into the bylaws. The general bylaws, the administrative bylaws, I'm sorry.
And these would have to go to public meeting to be changed?
Yes, they would, I believe. Yes, they would. Just as, yeah, they would, just as years ago, actually my first town meeting, when there was a proposal to increase the fines for loose animals.
Or when we increased fees a year ago or something like that, so, okay. I'm on board now.
Okay, I make a motion to approve Article 14.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against?
We now have Article 15 in here for the local option rooms tax and the proposal to increase the tax from 2% to 6%.
I move we recommend approval of Article 15.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Now, the remaining capital that you see in here that has not been struck has been approved, recommended, I should say, by the advisory committee. Most of them unanimously, if not all of them, starting with Article 16.
I make a motion we approve Article 16.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
In Article 17, replacement of the DPW Director's 2005 Crown Vic with a one-ton pickup truck with plow equipment for $46,900.
Make a motion to approve Article 17.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Will that be his vehicle?
Around town, yes. Article 18, replacement of DPW maintenance SUV with a half-ton van for $38,000. That was a tweak that was made within the last week or so to change to a van. Was also, it'll be more conducive to the storage of tools and whatnot too. It was, again, unanimously approved by the advisory committee.
Make a motion we approve Article 18.
Second?
All those in favor say aye. Any against?
And the old Article 19 for the two-way radios was disapproved unanimously by the advisory committee. And the DPW director said that, you know, in a tight year such as this, it is something that could be pushed out to another year. So the recommendation is it just be stricken from the warrant.
Well, I make a motion that we remove Article 19.
Wait a minute, we've just, all that happened was it got renumbered, right? Because the next article is Article 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're showing you the red line version, so we have to show you the old Article 19, having it deleted, and then with that being deleted, then what was Article 20 becomes Article 19 as a
Okay.
change.
Okay.
So,
So I'll second the removal of the older Article 19.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
And then the former Article 20, which is now Article 19, for 250, to borrow $250,000 for drainage flood control improvements for South Bolton and Spectacle Hill Roads. As you'll recall, last year there was engineering money approved to get the design work done for this, and this is the logical next step.
This is the construction.
make a motion we approve the new and improved Article 19.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
All right, so I'm just going to not do the former, continuing to do the presage and just say now moving on to Article 20. The engineering to replace the failed culvert at Wattaquatic Hill Road. Originally, the plan had been to engineer and do the construction, and the DPW director determined, and I would tend to agree, that the engineering is going to take it's going to be a fairly significant process, and by the time we're ready to get into construction, it'll be next spring, so we can look to appropriate the money at the FY21, not FY21, at the
FY20.
Yeah.
FY21 budget or the calendar 20 annual town meeting, so it'd be $80,000 for the engineering.
Okay, I move, we recommend approval of Article 20.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
And then now Article 21, it'll allow us to install some of the emergency protective measures to allow us to help with the current situation. It's effectively an overflow pipe, an emergency pipe, excuse me, and it's would be designed into the permanent solution, so this isn't money that would be wasted and would just be used for a year or two. It would continue as an emergency overflow option.
So I move the Board of Selectmen recommend approval of Article 21.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
And Article 22 is the requested command vehicle that was requested by the fire chief, also unanimously approved by advisory.
Make a motion, we approve Article 22.
Okay. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
And then the former Article 24, proposed, well, recommended to be removed from the warrant, replacement of engine 4. Advisory, well, the fire chief prioritized the command vehicle over the replacement of engine 4. Advisory unanimously agreed with removing it from the warrant. So the recommendation is that it be stricken from the warrant.
So moved. Is that what you need?
Yeah, but you can't make the motion.
All right.
Again,
All right, well, I make a motion to
We didn't
repeat
put that in my
everything Don
contract,
said.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against?
And Article 23, $30,000 to replace carpeting in the Emerson School building was unanimously approved by advisory.
Make a motion, we recommend approval for Article 23.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
And Article 24, the temperature control system replacement at Florence Sawyer School, $98,160. This is what's projected to be the town's contribution. We are pursuing green community funds to do the replacement, but we know that there's going to be, the town has to make some matching payment towards it, and our conservative estimate was that it could be as high as 50%. So that number represents 50%. We're hoping it's going to be less than that, but we have to plan conservatively.
Good.
Make a motion that we recommend approval of Article 24.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
The replenishment of the advisory committee reserve fund. Advisory's had a lot of stress put on the reserve fund this year, going all the way back to July. So they felt that $25,000 would be sufficient to deal with any year-end issues.
I move the Selectmen recommend approval of Article 25.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Article 26, Neshoba Regional School District debt amortization of $600,000. This is needed to address the leach field issue at the high school as well as the oil tank replacement at the high school. The borrowing would be done as such that there's no financial impact to the FY20 budget. We see the first debt payment in FY21, but they need the authorization to incur the debt.
So this is shared by all three towns?
All three towns.
Okay.
We don't own
This
those.
600,000.
For 600,000, that's right.
Okay.
No, we don't own the high school tank bed,
So
But we do.
but we do.
this is in lieu of anything else that might be going on with this?
At the moment, we can't assume we're getting any earmark funds.
All
So
right.
we have to assume that we're paying the whole
Okay,
thing.
so potentially this could go away too.
It wouldn't go away. If we did realize the earmark, it would be $300,000 for the leach field. It's not the entire amount. There's an estimate of $300,000 for the leach field and approximately $300,000 for the oil tank.
Which is, that's new.
Yes. It's recent. It's far more recent than the leach field.
Oh, the oil tank is definitely
Yeah.
more recent, absolutely, yes it
Yes.
is. Yes, it is.
Yes.
I recommend approval of Article 26.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Then Article 27, the establishment of a stabilization fund for the Neshoba Regional School District. The school district is proposing to implement free full-day K in the future. In order to do that, they're going to, over a period of time, need to set aside an amount of approximately $600,000 to front the money for the first year. They don't get reimbursement from the state until after the completion of the first year. So in order to do that, they've targeted $300,000 in funds to be put aside now. The school committee felt it was best to create a stabilization fund so those funds couldn't be intermingled with anything else or used for any other purpose other than the reason for which they were set aside. So they need all three towns to vote in favor of, well, not all three, they would need a majority of towns, I think, to vote in favor of the creation of a stabilization fund.
How does the stabilization fund get exhausted? Or extinguished is the word I'm looking for.
Oh,
Why couldn't this stabilization fund be used over and over?
well, if I understand your question, it's, this stabilization fund is created for a specific purpose. So once, my belief is, once they've gotten through the first year of the free full-day K and gotten their reimbursements from the state, the stabilization fund would no longer need to exist.
So does the money come back to the towns, or stabilization makes it sound like they're gonna have that money for some other thing later?
No, it's really,
It's an advance payment.
it's an advance payment. No, I mean, you can look at it as part of the overall operating expense of the school district. No, this would be, I think the current plan is they're looking to implement it in about 4 years, plus or minus a year, and setting aside $300,000 this year, then another sum of money next year, and then another sum of money the following year until they've got the $600,000 in there. But basically, they want to be able to separate it from any of the other funds, so it can only be used for the purpose for which it was put in.
Because they don't trust themselves?
Another example, and this was approved, I forget if it was last year or the year before, whatever it was a stabilization fund created for the carpet at for the football field, I believe. If I remember right. I think there was another stabilization fund created.
I don't remember that.
I could be wrong.
I think they're
Is it
right.
for maintenance?
I think we should vote our recommendation, announce our recommendation on the floor
The board,
at the annual town meeting.
that's the board's option to do that.
Well, personally, I'm a little concerned that this has come up and neither the school committee nor the district have met with the selectmen on this matter. Because this has significant implications down the road. The school district already offers full-day kindergarten. And it's the parents who elect to want to have their kids in full-day kindergarten, they pay. So we're talking about, one group of students for 1 year. And, from the standpoint of getting a fuller understanding of what this really means, because I don't think the stabilization fund it won't carry this forever. This is just to jumpstart maybe the first year of it. So I agree with Bob that we should make our recommendation on town meeting floor, and I would ask the board to recommend to Don that we have both the our school committee representatives and the superintendent come in to talk about this and explain what this means and what the implication is down.
Sounds like a good idea.
Since we have had no discussion on this whatsoever, so I'm recommending that we pass over this article for our recommendation and do it on the town meeting floor to Bob's suggestion.
And then the final article, 28, to authorize the town election.
So who made the motions on their recommendation on?
We just need a second
Yeah.
on voting on it at town meeting.
And I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
I move that we recommend approval of Article 28.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
I think we have to, deal with,
Did you approve
or
your?
is that someplace?
Oh, I'm sorry, no, it's all part of the warrant, so yes, you do need to do the selectmen statement.
Selectmen statement.
In here, Linda, I highlighted a couple of things because I didn't know what the numbers were. I think the FY19 was 0.06%. I have no idea what the portion of the budget we have control over, what that increase was. So, I'm sorry. That, what I had said.
Does the advisory have it in theirs?
Don't know. Yeah, because I had highlighted that.
Yeah, I
one, so I don't know what that number is. So we'll need to get that.
Since we go to the printers tomorrow, if we can't get it, is it all right to strike the sentence, or?
Yes.
Well, actually, we have to strike a whole bunch of it out.
Well, for the FY20 budget to the period, that whole sentence has to come up.
No, we also have to strike in the previous fiscal year that at non-educational budget growth was limited to an increase of,
Oh, okay.
people don't care about what last year was.
All right.
So I would say it doesn't, you know, if you have the first sentence and then with no justification, this is proof positive all our town department heads are continuing to be mindful. So that doesn't make any sense either. So you probably need to almost strike out the whole thing and put something else in.
I think we have that in, I think we have it in the advisory statement. I know we've got, in last year's advisory statement, they've got it, and I think it's
So
in,
the advisories, it's
Hold on, let's see.
right there.
Let's see if it's there.
if it isn't, it will be tomorrow when Brian's done writing it, but,
Well, I put it in as it,
okay.
it's in here as I had it. and
Yeah, I thought it was in the advisory statement, but I forgot to cross-check it.
No, it's not in there.
I don't see it. Nope.
No, they don't have it this year.
I think that's important. No.
All right, and it's the increase in non,
It was the non-educational, but I also think it doesn't include debt. So I think you gotta take those two numbers out of the budget.
Right.
And,
The portion of the budget we have direct control over.
yeah,
So you take out wages, you take out health insurance, you take out all kinds of stuff.
I can text Brian that right now, but, and ask him to get it back to us, so, but I need to understand exactly, because that, it just changed again. I thought what you were looking at first was just the non-educational spending.
No, I mean, no, the portion of the budget that we have direct control.
right. And Stan and I disagree on this a little bit, because I think insurance is part of that, but debt and education are excluded. But it's Brian's it's Brian's definition, so
Okay,
whatever it was 0.6% last year, what's the comparable number this year?
okay.
Well, we can take out, leave the first sentence in and take everything else out if you
Town
want.
departments again.
If you can't get a number tonight, then that's what you should do.
Yeah. Yeah, just leave the first sentence of the second paragraph in and take everything else out,
Okay.
if we can't get the number. Or if the number's horrible, take it out anyway.
Could I ask you a question on the next paragraph? where you say 63% of the total budget's now dedicated to education, is that the total budget or just Neshoba?
No, it's a total. It includes Minuteman.
Okay.
And was that correct
I
number?
think he has.
Because I highlighted that as well, I didn't know what that
I
number
think,
was.
I think Neshoba alone is 62 point something, and overall it's 65, because I ran these numbers yesterday.
Okay.
And I think, I can confirm that when I get home. I'll go look at my spreadsheet.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, because that, I had highlighted that as well, since I didn't have that.
If you would ask me on property.
Education, there's a bullet point
Mm-hmm.
in the advisory statement. Thank you, Linda. Make sure you get the recognition you deserve. Education, which represents 65% of the operating budget.
Darn.
Yeah.
Then put
Thank you,
it-
Linda.
All
Well,
right,
it's 63% is the Neshoba portion.
Okay. I mean, if you would just asked me with no prompting, I would have said 63, so I would have been wrong.
I think you should, well, I think,
Linda Day, everybody.
then put 65, because I think it should include.
Okay. No, it should absolutely
Yeah.
include everything, so, yeah.
All right, so make that 65.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you can't get an answer to that, just take everything out after the first sentence.
Okay.
So.
Other than that, I think that's fine.
Okay. You all right with it, gentlemen?
Yep.
Okay, so then I'll make a motion that we should approve the Board of Selectmen's statement, changing the over 63% in the third paragraph to 65%, and if Linda and/or Don cannot get what the number is for FY '20, that we strike everything but the first sentence in the second paragraph.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Okay, there you go. Cool.
And then we have FY '20 goal setting.
We need to
wait,
That's
no,
town administrative.
No,
close and
Jump.
execute the,
you're-
That's right.
You're down to the next.
we need to close, vote to
Oh.
close and sign
Sorry,
the,
jumped, yeah.
Make a motion that we vote to close and execute the warrant for the annual town meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Brian says they only calculated non-educational last year, so he's looking and will get back to me.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
And he's watching at home.
Okay.
playing the home version of the
He's playing home. Hey, Brian.
Aye.
So here are two copies
Shout out to
of the last page that you can sign, and I'll make all the other revisions, and it'll be ready to go.
I see down at the bottom, it says it's got to be signed by a constable of Bolton. Someday I'm going to find out what a constable does.
Signs
They
the
signs the
warrants.
warrant.
Signs the warrant?
And works at elections. Oh, yeah.
Every year I go to the election, every year I vote for them, and every year I go, I have to find out what it is they do.
I'll bet the town clerk can explain that to you.
Well,
Well, they used to serve warrants to, to
Yeah.
people in town and
Yeah.
whatnot, but not anymore. The
The
sheriff's
sheriff, yeah.
office does that now, so they help at elections.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, we have someone standing, we have a constable standing by the election machine.
okay.
And
So
signs
they're
the-
sort of like the
signs the warrant.
sergeant at arms. that
Yeah,
can show-
yeah.
Okay,
And then they post this in 5 different places, 4 different,
Mhm.
okay.
and then they bring it to town meeting as well.
Okay,
Town administrator report.
yes,
Take it away, Tom.
leading off with Minuteman.
Surprise, surprise.
Went to the building committee meeting Monday night, and still on schedule, still on budget. Doors should be open for the students in September.
This September?
This September.
Wow,
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
the original schedule had it in 2020, but we pulled it into 19,
wow.
probably a year and a half, 2 years ago now, that I think
It's an
about it.
open air cafeteria though, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
It's an open air
Yeah, no,
cafeteria.
We're planning a few things,
Yeah.
but,
So when did they demo the old building?
and then we haven't yet. We will a couple of months after
Yeah. after-
occupancy, and then I'm pretty sure that's where some fields are gonna go. I saw that, we had a slide presentation of, you know, how things are looking. It's pretty exciting to see the way it's looking
That's
now.
great.
And since the National Grid lockout ended, they actually were supposed to start the actual digging for the utilities today. It's gonna be a 14 to 21 day workday task, but expect it to all be done and filled in by the end of April.
Cool.
So, and right now, I think, if I remember correctly, we've got about 170 tradespeople working on the site right now. So, and probably gonna increase that with the better weather.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting. I'm not gonna know what to do with myself once Minuteman's done.
Go to Disney World.
As far as Minuteman goes, I'm sorry, I can't get off it. As far as the portico goes,
Did you get the bat guano out of Minuteman yet there?
I don't wanna know what kind of guano is in there. We have final approval on all shoring, and starting tomorrow, we're gonna be hitting it pretty hard, and it'll be on not the guano, the portico. And it'll be on a daily basis, so we're gonna see a significant ramp up now that the weather's broken and we've got all that other stuff done.
Good.
The contractor says it will still be done in June.
Excellent.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
and we're still within budget. Barely, but we're within budget. And the other thing that I added to the agenda tonight, on my report tonight was, and I know it won't be the final discussion on it, but just to kick off the discussion on FY20 goal setting for me. And that's, you know, a combination of what the board views, and then I'll want to hear, obviously need to hear what the board sees as goals for FY20. And then I can fill in some other things. But just as an initial comment, as I said, I expect this to take a few meetings to sort out, but just now completing the budget process, it's clear to me that the town administrator needs to be more involved in the capital planning process next year. We had some hiccups in the capital planning process this year, and I think town administrator involvement will be helpful. I've discussed that with Brian, since he's watching. I can say, I think Brian would tend to agree that it would be helpful to have me more involved next year. And that exactly in what capacity obviously needs to be defined. But at a high goal level, I would really like to be more involved next year and beyond.
And you know, you gotta bring the capital planning committee in this also.
That's right.
No, I agree, because I attended the last few advisory committee meetings, and yeah, it's, Don does absolutely need to be involved.
And so I guess with Minuteman going away, maybe that will fill up my time, I don't know. But, and then, of course, you know, we've got things such as we need to get the MassWorks project done next year. I'm sure I'll be involved in some level on that. And there'll be other tasks to be done as well. But I mean, those are, right out of the gate, those are two that I can see me being pretty involved with.
MassWorks is the light at Water Quality.
Water quality, that's right. Because that will need to be completed no later than June 2020, per the terms of the grant. And, you know, depending on how detailed you want to get at what point, I mean, I'm happy to put together a more detailed list, but I thought this is a kickoff. Those are the two of the big ones. And then we've got the standard things, you know, the budget as a whole, and, you know, the overall management of the town and things like that. But I can get to more specifics as we go through. But any initial thoughts that the board has, you know, is always also very interested in hearing.
No, I think those are certainly two worthwhile goals. So, you know, maybe it might make sense for us to go back and think about it a little bit, and, you know, come up with. I don't think we should be giving Don like 37 goals.
No.
I think there should be a few overarching goals. But you know, maybe we should, you know, from our own perspective, what we think, you know, are important items, and we can kind of throw them out on the table.
Yeah, just to throw out a couple more ideas. I think pursuing the merger of the fire department and the EMT squad in fiscal 20. And helping get the master plan off the ground.
Mhm.
And I don't know if there's ever been a review of town hall hours and if they're appropriate for what people are looking for and things like that. I know we've kind of all gotten used to it,
Mhm.
but, so I
Mhm.
think that's something we should discuss. Or if it was something discussed just before I became a selectman, then, you know,
Now, there's
Just
been
a
no
summary.
formal discussion. I mean, all my information is anecdotal right now. I mean, obviously, 10 years of observation and seeing what the use patterns are like and all that. And but no, I mean, a more formal discussion. And actually, that could be one way to get it jump-started, probably, I think, from within, now that I'm thinking about it, is it's a good staff meeting topic. You know, get the department heads in there, let them tell me how they think the hours are going, and if they think there should be any adjustments.
yeah,
That
I'd be
could
particularly interested if there's activity on Fridays of people coming and not able to get in and stuff like that.
Yeah, as well as one.
Again, not to get an answer tonight,
Right.
but to me, that's a,
No, and I can tell you, and I know you don't want to get into it, I mean, I'm here most Fridays, and, you know, people, the occasional person dropping off a payment, you know, that I'll take and put in the collector's slot or whatever, but generally speaking, it's well known we're not open Fridays, and people seem to
okay.
cope well with it.
Then I just would like to have a discussion about
Sure.
that.
Yeah, but I think that plus also the transfer station hours
Yeah.
as well.
Yes,
I think,
yeah.
Mhm.
Now, if we're looking at hours, let's look at the hours.
Anything else?
No, but I
When
would
you're
like to
free to
continue the
come over and wax
discussion.
my car.
Probably should keep this as a standing item under town administrator's report for a bit until we wrap it up.
Yeah, I guess
Until
good.
we shake it out, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay, sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you, Don. So on to Board of Selectmen business. Do we have any public service announcements tonight?
I have a brief one, if I can find my notes. This being the end of budget season, it's, I know when I first started getting on advisory and stuff like that, there was a desire on my part to get, here it is, a lot of big picture financial information about the town's finances and how they've changed over time. And the information was very difficult to to find, or even find anybody who knew it. It turns out that all this information's been public. Because we've had bond issues out in the public since at least 2006, the town has to submit a complete financial report to the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board every year, and that information is made public. So for everyone who wants to see big picture town finances, balance sheet, income statements, stuff like that, you go to the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, or the MSRB, and then you go to their particular website called EMMA, E-M-M-A, which is Electronic Municipal something or other, electronic, whatever it is. I couldn't figure out what EMMA stood for.
That's a long URL.
That it is. But once you go to Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, it's easy to find EMMA, and from EMMA you can easily find Bolton, and just go nuts downloading information to your heart's content. Hours of fun.
Is that how you calculated the school percentage?
Well, I got it elsewhere, but yeah, that was, that was all part of the Friday night merrymaking.
Yeah.
Wow, you lead an exciting life. I tell ya.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you. Bob, anything, Stan?
No, I'm good for that right now.
Brian tells me that last year's number was minus 3.82%, and I'm awaiting the number for FY '20.
So it shrank last year.
We're all looking at Brian.
Yeah, I think I lifted that paragraph from the 2017.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Because I wrote it.
Mhm.
You self-plagiarized.
I self-plagiarized, exactly.
Linda, do we have any
We
minutes?
do, we have some minutes for Board of Selectmen and then the law committee.
So that's probably even better.
Get started.
Let's hope the second
Okay,
member's not.
we need
You
to,
need to-
we need to, yeah, we need to formally vote on this.
Yes.
So what minutes are we approving?
We have Law Committee Regular Session 2/28/19, 3/7/19, and Executive Session 2/28/19. And we have Board of Selectmen Regular Session 2/7/19 and Executive Session 2/7/19.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
What was the number? Minus 3.1.
Uh,
I think it's minus 3.2.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, minus 3.82.
Okay, that's great. That's for you.
Missed that one.
Actually, that couldn't have been calculated before Tuesday night, since that's when the budget got wrapped up, now that I think about it.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I had highlighted it.
so I think in terms of outstanding minutes, I think I've got there was a special meeting on February 28th, but I don't think I got the minutes for the regular meeting on February 28th.
I'll do a review and send it out.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.